Rarely am I surprised when I go to practice and look out onto the field and see something I didn't think I'd expect to see, but that's exactly what happened when the Bucs were indoors on Wednesday for a walkthrough practice. Lo and behold, there was number 7, Bucky Irving, taking handoffs from Baker Mayfield. And then much later, we didn't see it because he wasn't out there at the time, Chris Godwin also practicing in this walkthrough workout. Both of those guys were listed as limited. Neither one is necessarily committed to playing on Sunday, although I think it is possible. And we'll have to see what they can do, Thursday, Friday, and beyond. But I think I can't speak for Godwin, and really I'm not even that sure about Bucky, although it's not like they're going to hit his shoulder or anything between now and Sunday. But I think Bucky's going to play. Like just kind of reading the tea leaves like we did last week with Luke Gedeke. Bucky Irving could be in the lineup, which is key against a Bills team that is 30th against the run and gives up almost 5.5 yards a carry.
It would be huge. And, to get RB1 back, that's the run game has struggled some. And,
Sure.
It just gives you more depth there, although not that they've used a lot of depth all season. But having Bucky back, he's clearly your number one back.
Mm-hmm.
And they need to run the ball, particularly with a beat-up Baker Mayfield. Still some injuries on the offensive line. Like, being able to have your best back in there to run and control the clock and the ball some is going to be huge for these two road games at Buffalo and then at LA Rams. Running the ball, I think, is going to be key on these. And particularly because Buffalo's defense is not very good against the run.
Right.
So to have your top running back is really big.
Right. Suddenly it looks like because you look at these games, and of course it's the NFL, right? You don't know. I mean, Buffalo went into Miami against the Dolphins team that had really nothing to play for, hadn't been playing particularly well, and they lost. And so, it's the any given Sunday league. Same thing with the Rams, but the Rams to me are still one of the best teams in the NFC, if not all of football. They've got Seattle. That's going to be a great game this weekend. But suddenly you think, okay, maybe they get the Buffalo game. They have a chance if they can grind it out, if they can keep Josh Allen on the sideline. The only thing I would say that would temper this a little bit is that their guard situation now is not good. I mean, Ben Bredesen, we saw him at practice. That doesn't mean that he did anything. I mean, he was kind of, standing around a little bit. He did not practice would not have practiced because it was a walkthrough. According to the practice report, and he's got that hamstring, which is weird the way he injured it. He kind of did the splits on a punt block situation early in the game. So, while it's definitely a big weapon. I mean, maybe one of the biggest weapons. I mean, this is a guy that rushed for 1,122 yards or something like that as a rookie, 8 touchdowns. What he gives them is an explosive playmaker. Like, they just don't get any explosive runs, with Rashad, a few more with Sean Tucker, but that home run hitter, that everything doesn't have to be perfect, right? He can make the first guy miss. He can get to the second level, and if he does that, he might break one. He's also been a reliable receiver, in the short time that he's played this year. Like, he's got two receiving touchdowns. And it's just the more you can get the ball in a playmaker's hands, and that makes a team like Buffalo or the Rams have to, commit more players to maybe stopping the run, which then opens things up on the backside. I mean, it all kind of goes hand in hand, right? So, but and the other thing is, and we talked about this with Evans, but Bucky also has an energy and an aura about him. You know what I mean? Like, he plays with a lot of will, and that's contagious, right? So I was shocked, and I can't speak for Godwin simply because I didn't see him. We'll see him, probably today at practice, kind of judge a little bit more about how he's moving, how he's running. Man, if you got them both, at some point, whether it's this week or next, you're going to. And, hopefully that, gives you a couple more huge weapons that you can add to the arsenal, and you don't get anybody else hurt. And, suddenly you've got one-on-ones maybe with Godwin or a guy over the middle. Godwin's can also help in the run game. He's a big blocker. So this is what they've been waiting for. They've been waiting to get some guys healthy. I just I don't know the impact is going to be immediate because of their offensive line situation. It's not been good really all year, but especially inside. So we'll see. But Baker was pretty fired up, as everybody else was, to see him out there. It's remarkable to think that they are even 6-3, right, without all these players, and it's caught up to them. Let's be honest; they're not explosive. They're not. It's a grind to try to get 24 points a game out of these guys. Josh Grizzard just doesn't matter how you call the plays if you don't have guys that can execute, particularly on
Well,
the offensive line.
yeah, I mean, they've been missing at least 2 offensive linemen for every game. I mean, Cody
Every
Mauch's out
game.
for the season, but
Yep.
whether
Yep.
it's Wirfs or Gedeke or Bredesen now, I mean,
Yep.
you're missing guys there. You're
Hmm.
missing Bucky Irving. You're missing Mike Evans. You're missing Chris Godwin. You're missing Jalen McMillan. Like,
Right. It's your team.
I mean, you have Ibuka. You have Otten, which I wouldn't say is explosive. He's a good tight
No.
end, but
Yeah.
not explosive. Rashad White's good. What else you got?
Nothing.
I mean, Tez Johnson's developing.
Tez has helped
You
them in
know,
the red zone.
yeah.
Shep is Shep. He's at the end of his
Mhm.
career, not the
Yeah.
middle
I
or
mean,
the
Ryan
beginning.
Miller's been okay.
Yeah.
Cameron Johnson, but you don't have those explosive pieces. Like, you're missing a
No.
lot of explosive pieces and the
Right.
line to block. And Baker's beat up.
Yeah. He clearly is. I kind of asked him, like, is there a point where you'd be so hurt that you would consider not playing? I go, I know you're kind of a gamer that way. And he said, well, he goes, like, it would have to be like a year ago. And he freely admits that, when they played Carolina up there, and no, it was 2 years ago. Yeah, 2 years ago when they played Carolina up there. I think they won like 9-3 or 9-6, something like that.
Mhm.
When he had the rib injuries, he goes, it would be something that, you know, I would have to think about if I was that hurt. But right now, I don't sense that he has any intentions of sitting down, and certainly they don't have any intentions of sitting him down. So looks like he'll continue to go, and it definitely is affecting him, and it affects the whole offense. I read a stat where uh, they average like more than 5 yards, to a first down on every play last week, and talk about a shrinking passing game. They had an average of just 3.6 intended air yards. So that's how short, of a passing game. It was dink, not even dunk. When they were trying to move it through the air last week, on average. That's not every pass, but just on average. So this is what's happened. Your offense is suddenly shrunk. Teams are able to play closer to the line of scrimmage. They're able to bring more pressure. Baker has not run the ball even one time in the last 3 games, and I don't care. Almost any game you turn on Sunday, more so in college than the NFL, but certainly too in the NFL, you need your quarterback to be able to get you 2 to 3 first downs a game. You know what I mean? It
Yes.
could be 3rd and 1, 3rd and 3. I'm still mystified that after getting that interception from Tyke Smith Sunday, and what that meant, and marching down there inside their 40, it looked like every Baker Mayfield comeback we've seen this year, and there's been 4 of them. And to get to 3rd and 3 and not get a first down is still remarkable to me. Like in any other game, he just legs it out for 3 yards.
Mhm.
He did it in Houston on 4th and 10. He did it against San Francisco on 3rd and 14. Um, 3rd and 4 is not going to stop a drive. 4th and 4 probably is not going to stop a drive, but it did. And it did because the offensive line wasn't very good. They were disorganized. They didn't pick up a simple 5-man pressure that they should have picked up. And it was interesting because Baker made his impassioned speech after that game about guys being accountable, and how it should sting and all this sort of stuff. And if I heard it once, I heard it 2 or 3 times, that they said, even though a walkthrough, right, which is not anything that's simulates practice really, but they said that guys were, came back, responded to what he said, and they had one of the better, kind of on point practices in terms of, no mental errors. Guys were focused, they were locked in. So, sometimes those words, matter and sometimes they don't. Of course, we won't know until Sunday because it doesn't matter what they say or how they practice during the week necessarily. But, I think the guys we talked to, his words had some weight, and, got a chance to talk to Mecca Buka, who discussed that a little bit. So it's interesting. This game, it's two teams that really need a win. Like every team needs a win on Sunday. It's the most competitive league there is in sports in the U.S. But Buffalo, having lost to Miami, where they're at, in the playoffs, I think they're like the last seed in the AFC. Their chances of trying to win a Super Bowl as they feel they could with Josh Allen. Um, they're desperate. They're desperate, and the Bucs are desperate. They don't want to fall. Shrink their lead further in the NFC South, and they know they got to go to Los Angeles for a Sunday night game next week. Um, it's really going to be a very competitive game. It's supposed to rain. I was looking up there because this is going to be the one cold weather game, and it will be a cold weather game. I think the range of temperature is somewhere between 35 and 53, but there's a 75% chance of rain. Just does that not sound like the gray Buffalo day you would expect this time of year?
Yeah, not the Chamber of Commerce day
No,
that you hope for.
no, no.
Although, as long as it's not, 10 inches of snow there in Ocean
Well,
Park.
true, right. You got to count on that. It could always get worse, especially there. You know, you could be buried in that stuff. But what it means is that it's going to be hard to throw the ball, right? It's going to be hard to throw the ball, hard to catch the ball. And if you're the Bucs and you have a Bucky Irving or even Rashad White and Sean Tucker and those guys, if you can keep Buffalo the way they have been, not being able to stop the run, and I mean they're horrible at it for whatever reason. They're giving up more than 5.5 yards a carry. I think if you can pound the rock this time of year up there, and they're going to try to do the same thing too. I mean, they can absolutely run the football, but if you can run it, then you have a chance to stay in that game. I think the difference is, and I would give Buffalo an advantage in this, if nothing else. Josh Allen can run that damn ball, right? He's a big son of a gun that not only can run it, but he can extend plays because of his size, and he will throw it, from odd angles and use the whole field and all that sort of thing. Baker is not running the football, by will. He does not really want to be the guy that's doing that right now, and it's been 3 games, and so I think Josh Allen has an advantage, just in terms, like we said, picking up 2 to 3 first downs a game, if not hurting you with his arm because he can extend plays. So they're going to need, Baker to play better, and obviously their defense can't give up big chunk plays like they did last week. That's what got them. On the whole, their defense wasn't bad, but you can't take away, 350 plus yard plays. So I'm intrigued now by this game because and it's not in stone that Bucky plays. It's not in stone that Godwin plays. They're gonna, the bigger days are gonna be, Thursday, today, Friday. I would say they're both going to be listed as questionable by the time we get to Friday. They're both probably going to be limited. Maybe they go full one day by the end of the week in terms of practice. But if there's a way they can play, one or both of them, I expect to play. I think they're moving around well. How do you test the shoulder? Like, you're not going to run into Bucky and try to, give him contact, right? I mean, I don't know how they test that with a
I suppose
separated shoulder.
I suppose you're kind of giving some contact, not necessarily tackling, but
No,
you can
they're
pound
not
on the
going to be at
shoulder
pads
pads. You
though.
can,
But yeah, you put on the shells or something. But yeah,
I'm sure there's a way for them to figure out, as they, I don't know, is it massaging, but as you're treating them and stuff like that to see how tender it is and such.
maybe, yeah, maybe,
And then it becomes a pain tolerance.
yeah, yeah, and he's got to be fortunate. I don't know if he'll wear a harness, but like when you have that shoulder pops out, and that's what happened. it's more prone to have it, do it again. So I don't know how you protect yourself in that instance. And he's had a lot of weeks off. He hasn't played. Bucky hasn't played since the Eagles game, I think. Yeah, since the Eagles, September 28th. It's a long time, man.
Wow, I didn't realize it's been that long.
Yeah, it's been like 6 weeks. You know, and Godwin last played at Seattle, and that's been a long time.
Yep. Yeah, he's been
Um,
out a while.
and he only played 2 games, because he didn't start the season. So he only got in 2 games, and both of them were very, 3 catches for 24-yard type games.
Mm-hmm.
So he really didn't do anything. But his presence, right? His presence, his competitiveness, they have to account for him. If he's right, and that's what none of us know. Could they go out there and, you know, suffer another injury, or they're a little vulnerable because of what they've had? Sure. I mean, that can happen in any game. But the boost of energy, like these guys, you could tell. I mean, you could tell that they felt good about having their dudes back, because that's what this game is. The game is about players, not plays. And, a lot of people are on Gazard. I think Josh Gazard was given the toughest hand, a tougher hand than Dave Canales, a tougher hand certainly than Liam Cohen. I mean, he didn't have any offensive linemen to start the season. They shuffled their line to where, you know, they had Graham Barton playing left tackle, for God's sakes. You know, um, I think we're finding out though that like Bredesen, Bredesen's one of these journeyman players. He's played a lot of football in the Giants and different stops along the way. He's played some center. But I'm finding out that like Bredesen's like a glue guy. Like Bredesen, like that play they messed up on 4th and 3, that may not happen with him in there, because he's played center. He identifies things. The communication's really good, and he's just a smart offensive lineman. And I think they missed that in that game. It was unfortunate, because you're only going to get 4 of the 5 at any point this year, because Cody Malk is walking around with a cast on his leg from a knee injury he got that ended his season. So you can only have 4 of the 5 to begin with. But when you lose both guards, suddenly you're vulnerable in the middle of the field, inside, and that's what's been happening, is that Baker's gotten pressure and he can't get out of the pocket, not really trying to run because he's hurt. So it's just kind of been diminishing returns. But pound the ball, run the ball inside, run the ball for a little bit, make those guys have to bring that safety down in the box, and now you've got some opportunities to throw it down the field, which is what they've missed. They missed the explosives in the passing game. So it'll be interesting. Baker and it was. I don't know if you saw, Baker and Josh Allen went back and forth, and Baker and Allen know each other, I guess, through competing or whatever. And Baker said something about, you're going to see Josh Allen. And he goes, well, yeah, the guy's like 6'6" to begin with. I'm going to have to use what did he say? It was funny. Something like, I have to get the quote, but basically I have to shout at him because he's so tall. And he goes, and he's got really small hands. Uh, and and then Allen retorted and said, "Well, Baker's the guy that will need 2 gloves. He said he's the kind of guy that uses 2 gloves when he plays golf, if that tells you anything, which it really doesn't." But they were going back and forth. It's going to be it's a fun match. Like both those guys are such gamers
Mm-hmm.
that it's kind of like watching. And I'm not comparing Baker to Mahomes, but when Mahomes and Allen go at it, you just never know what you're going to see in terms of effort. And Baker brings that same quality. So 2 guys that really lead their team, that do anything to win, and are pretty good friends to boot. Quarterback community is pretty tight, so I'm kind of excited about the game. I really was kind of been to Buffalo a bunch of times, kind of a dreary place, and they need a new stadium. They're getting one. It's nearly complete. Unique place. It's kind of, again, little bit in the neighborhood, on the drive up there, and that's what you have going for you in places like Buffalo and Green Bay. It's about their football team. They're
Yep.
rabid
Well, and
about
you'll get to see
football.
their new stadium, which is a monster
Yeah,
compared to the old one,
that's
which is
what I
next door.
hear. Yeah, that's what
Yeah.
I hear. It's going to be sitting right there for us. So get a chance to look at it anyway, and then I don't know when the next time the Bucs will play up there, but
It'll be in the new stadium because this is the final year of their current one, so it
yeah,
opens
yeah,
next year. So
yeah, it should be there. And then it's one of those places too. Like when I go to Lambeau, there there's a few stadiums. Philly's one. Philly for a different reason. You're scared to death because a Philly fan may just kill you on the way in. Um, Raider fan to some extent too. But there's a few places that it's just so full of culture. You can feel it oozes its own culture, right? Green Bay. I mean, Green Bay is such a unique, storied franchise. And again, like you're driving through a little town, and these row houses, and then out of nowhere pops this NFL stadium, right? Like right in the middle of it. But the walk in, park the car, the rental car, and you walk in, and in Green Bay, it's all about the brats, and the barbecue and stuff. I mean, there is a smell in that parking lot that is greater than any stadium I've ever go to. And so I enjoy, that, the storied Lambeau Field, the frozen tundra. Like there's so much history, the statue of Lombardi outside. Um, and it's so unique just because it's Wisconsin. The same is true about Buffalo, but in a different way. Like Buffalo is, again, rabid fan base. And I have seen this. They set up the tables, they get hammered, and you're watching people fall through their tables as a ritual. It's the damnedest thing. Like just jumping through the middle of tables, man. That's so weird.
the Bills Mafia is crazy.
Bills Mafia is into it, yeah, and they travel and they do all
Mhm.
that stuff. So, yeah, really fun. I actually I'm kind of a closet, not a fan, but like rooting for Buffalo to get to a Super Bowl. I mean, I was at the Super Bowl that Scott Norwood was the first one I ever covered. I was really
Mhm.
young back then, but Scott Norwood, misses the field goal by inches, and the Giants win the Super Bowl at the the old sombrero, and no one circles the wagons like Scott Norwood, but it was, it if it goes in and it didn't, but how it would have changed history and changed that franchise's fortunes. It's still unfathomable to me. Like, think about how hard this is. They went to 4 straight Super Bowls and lost all of them. I
Mhm.
can't imagine the pain of that. You know what I mean? And I covered those Super Bowls. Some were close and the rest of them were not. Um, but you have to be damn good to make it to 4 straight Super Bowls, man. And they kind of feel like they're back in that mode of like they're just almost good enough to get there but can't, with Josh Allen, the way it was with Jim Kelly. So I'd like to see that fan base be rewarded, because it's really a good fan base. It's a great NFL city, to go to, because of the history. So anyway, looking forward to it. Should be an interesting week of practice to see who can and can't go, and whether they can bounce back. And Baker's not going to sit himself. That's obvious. There's no illusions of that. Even though I think it might be a good idea, they're going to play him until the wheels come off. So he's got to find a way to protect himself. So we'll see. Should be interesting. The Lightning had an interesting game that we'll get into in just a minute. But first, hey, get on down to Breitling Boutique International Plaza Mall. Have you been to the mall? Guess what? All the Christmas decorations are up. Santa is definitely coming to town. They got the little village in the middle of the mall. That's where you're going to find the Breitling Boutique, on the second floor above Santa's village there. And you go in, great customer service, man. You talk about friendly people that know their stuff. That's the people at the Breitling Boutique. They're going to tell you about their beautiful watches. For the men, it's the Navitimers, the Chronomat watches that they are known for. Women, they have ladies' watches for your wife, your girlfriend. They're sports watches now. These are very durable. They're very beautiful, and they come with all different colored wristbands that you can choose from. And you'll notice in the glass case, while supplies last, they have a couple examples of the 32 NFL team watches. That's right. They're celebrating the NFL's 104th year anniversary. They're doing that with 32 different teams, 32 different team watches. These are the Chronomat watches. In the face of the watch is the color, team colors, and the logo on the watch. I mean, these are collector's items, folks, and they're not going to last very long, if at all. So get on down to Breitling Boutique, International Plaza Mall. You're going to love the store. You're going to love the products, and you're going to get the best timepiece you have ever owned. And make sure you let them know that you heard about it right here on Sports Day Tampa Bay. So I turn on the Lightning game, and I'm kind of excited to see them play the Rangers from Tampa. I'm hearing these stats. The game was on TNT, so I wasn't real familiar with kind of the broadcast a little bit. But apparently the Rangers they're like 8-1 on the road this year, but their
Now
home
they're
record
8-1-1,
is flipped.
and they're 1-6-1 at home.
It's stupid, right?
And they've been shut out 5 times at home.
It's stupid. There's no reason for this to be the case, but they can travel and they're good on the road, and they were again. This game was nuts. This game had 7 goals in the first freaking period. It was 4-3 Rangers.
Yeah. So the Rangers got off to a hot start. They got a power play early, scored.
Yep.
First of all, the Lightning were very shorthanded.
On defense, and it showed.
Yep. No Hedman, no McDonough, no Cirelli, no James, no Holmberg.
Mm-hmm.
5 players out of the lineup, and Nick Paul's still not back. So they called up Scott Sabrin, they called up Boris Tkachuk. They're all in the lineup. Jack Finley's in the lineup. Curtis Douglas is in the lineup. Your fourth line was Jack Finley, Curtis Douglas, and Scott Sabrin.
Syracuse line, yeah.
So the Lightning were very shorthanded. They fall down early. They battle back.
Yeah, they battled nicely.
Mm-hmm. I mean, it was
Jake Gensel is amazing, by the way.
2-0, 3-1. I think it was 4-2, and then 4-3 at the end.
Got
of the first.
4-3 in the first.
Yep. And then they had chances in the second period. They had chances to tie it.
Yeah, they did.
Vasilevsky, maybe one goal you'd say he should have had. He slipped on the one.
Right.
Like the fifth goal, the one that, it was 4-3, and you're like, they can just get the next goal and get it tied.
Well, Shesterkin made some great saves. They had chances. I mean, they were putting a lot of pressure on him there.
No, they did. I mean, they just Braden Point snake bitten.
Yeah. Oh man.
I thought Jake Gensel was great tonight.
Gensel was the best player on the ice for the Lightning.
Cooch is still trying to pass too much.
Yeah, I'm glad you said that, because I noticed that. I think he needs to shoot more. I mean, he's no one sees the ice like he does. He gives you an opportunity, but it's just a little too many.
Well, but when you only pass, it's easy to defend you and the team.
Well, that's true. That's true.
The other thing that you kind of notice is when he was on the ice with a lot of the younger guys, they're looking so hard to get it to him, and everybody knows it.
Yes.
So it's kind. I mean, that's part of the growing pains and figuring it out. But
yeah.
I would like to see Cooch shoot a little more.
Mm-hmm.
Scott Sabrin gets his first goal since February of 2020. Now, he's played mostly in the AHL since then, but he's had
February since 5 years.
Mm-hmm.
Wow, that's crazy.
Now, most of that time he's been in the minors, but
but still.
So it's a rough game, and they lose 7-3.
Yeah, they pulled Vasi right at one point.
They pulled him after the second period.
Okay.
I'm guessing just to save him.
Yeah, I mean, they weren't playing great defense around him. Why would you let him get punished?
I mean, the first 4 goals, maybe one he would have liked back. The others, what are you going to do? Tips in this.
Right.
The fifth one, he fell, as he came over, slipped, and Trocheck, slid it under his pads.
Right.
Which you never see that happen. It was like, that was weird.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And then, Johansson took the third period. So a rough one. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, have you ever known a team to have this much disparity between home and away, and for it to be better on the road than it is at home, like the Rangers are right now? I know it's not going to last, but
yeah, I mean, you're 16, 18 games in, whatever New York's played.
It's just an oddity, right?
It's very odd, particularly that, if you would have said that good at home and not on the road,
that would have made sense. Yeah.
Now, part of it is they've had trouble scoring, and they got
True.
Vincent Trocheck back tonight, which was their, he's one of their best forwards.
Is their captain?
No, JT Miller is.
Oh, Miller is. Okay, that's
Yep.
right.
Yep. But Trocheck's very good and does a lot for them, power play and all that stuff. To get him back, and he had 2 goals tonight.
Yeah, he was good.
That's going to help kind of set their lineup and stuff. But the Lightning, and the bigger thing is too, you lost Brandon Hagel in the first period.
That was scary, I thought.
Mm-hmm.
Was there not a penalty associated with that hit?
It was a clean hit.
Was it? Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, he had the puck.
Yeah.
Kind of misplayed the puck, looked down, and then got hit.
He got drilled. He smashed his stick on the way off the ice.
Yeah. So not only are you down the 5 players we said, but then you lost Hagel 3 shifts in.
Yeah.
Early in the first period.
Yeah, they were undermanned. No doubt.
But they were undermanned, but still had shots and still had chances to win that game.
Oh yeah, no, at 4-3, I'm telling you, they had some good looks and some pretty good shots. I don't know, maybe one hit the post. I can't remember, but I think for the most part, Shesterkin just made some really good saves.
Yeah, he did.
But if you tie that game up, maybe it's a little different.
Mm-hmm.
But they never could get over the hump. They were always chasing the game a little bit. Crazy first period though. I've not seen a first period like that where you got 7 goals, man. It was entertaining. But
it was. The rest of the game maybe not so much, but
Yeah, once it got separated, it wasn't too entertaining for the home fans. You got to get healthy. It's it's about who you got.
Yeah, and the next game is Saturday afternoon at Florida.
Oh,
the first of 4 meetings this year.
And they're not likely to get many guys back by then, right?
I wouldn't. I mean, McDonough and James are definitely out because they're on IR and they can't be activated till Sunday. Well, Point played, but
Hagel. I mean,
Hagel, we'll see. We don't know what he has. Right. Hedman and Holmberg day to day. Sorelli, not sure.
It's tough when you don't have Hedman or the
McDonough.
other defense, McDonough.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
yep.
It's tough.
Yeah, I mean that's 2 of your top 4 and probably your 2 most biggest minutes,
most experienced minute.
Well,
guys,
the 2 most minutes. So that you got to figure out.
Yeah.
Max Crozier returned to the lineup tonight. I thought he was okay. I thought he was getting some of that top minutes that Hedman would get. I thought he struggled a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Whether it was just playing that much or whether it's just first game back from being out after a couple and probably not 100% either. So
changes your power play without Hedman too, right?
Well, they've already changed it. Radish is now on the top power.
Oh, that's right. Radish actually played pretty well against his brother, no less.
I thought he played really well.
Yeah.
And then Destu took the second team power play tonight without Hedman there. So
yeah.
But yeah, it was such a makeshift lineup. Like you don't want to go into a game saying, that's a loss or, you kind of have scheduled losses, but this isn't necessarily the schedule, but with the lineup and the way they're injured and that, it was kind of one of those. It was going to be a tough one to win.
Yeah,
they were gonna need their stars to step up and Cooch and Point. Just they weren't good enough. They weren't. I mean, I think the effort was there, but they weren't taking enough shots. They've been that line's been struggling all year, really. Jake Gensel's been good, but
yeah, Gensel's really good. Yeah, it's just one of those games you chalk it up to not having your dudes, and not an excuse, but they made it. They got it close, 4-3 in the first. I really thought if they could tie this thing up, it might be a different outcome, but never could. They chased it pretty much through the whole game. So who they got next?
Florida Saturday.
Afternoon. Oh, Florida. You said that. Yeah. Okay. Yep. So at Florida. Well, it's unfortunate.
It's a back-to-back Saturday at Florida. Sunday's home against Vancouver.
But you're going to have to go down there without your dudes, without your best guys, to see about Hedman and McDonough. But that's not how you want to play the Florida Panthers.
No, but they're pretty banged. They're pretty banged up too, so they've got a lot of injuries as well.
Oh, okay, all right. Well, going to be entertaining when those two get together. I can tell you that.
It looks like. I mean, at this point, you're assuming Curtis Douglas and Scott Sabrin are going to be in the lineup.
Mm-hmm.
Which, Sabrin, you've got the 4-game suspension from that preseason game, and Curtis Douglas, we know 6'9" and can handle himself. So it'll be interesting if anything happens. It's going to be really interesting whether anything happens. I don't think it's going to be the fireworks everyone is talking about.
I don't know,
But
man.
because I think both teams are beat up. I think points are at a premium right now because both teams did not get off to great starts. But saying that, all it takes is one awkward hit.
One little spark, man. One spark.
Not even an intentional, not even like I'm trying to start something, but one hit that maybe crosses a line or was a little late or that can be all it takes to start that.
Yeah, they're spring loaded.
Or
that series.
If they want to take if Florida goes after Sabrin for what he did in the preseason game, or if Hagel wants revenge, assuming Hagel plays.
Sure.
For getting hit in that game, things like that. I mean, if that happens, then we'll see. But
it's just that both teams just such familiarity brings contempt for both of them. They just like to make these sort of statements,
Well, it's probably the most intense rivalry in hockey right now.
Right now, yeah, I would agree with that. And Florida's style of play does not change when they play the Lightning.
It's the style, but it's also that the last 6 Stanley Cup representatives from the Eastern Conference is out of this rivalry.
Came from Florida, Tampa, yeah. Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, no, there'll be some spice. There definitely will be some stuff going on, whether it gets out of hand or not. Like it has at times in the past. We'll see. I'm looking forward to. We can wrap it up on this, but I'm looking forward to college football this weekend. In particular, how about the USF Bulls going to Annapolis to play the Navy midshipmen?
Huge game. Huge
enormous game for the USF Bulls. And I mean in the history of the franchise, right? Like when you're playing to be the first Florida team, maybe, to enter the college football playoffs, and and Navy, who is having a really good year themselves, but you control your own destiny these next 3 weeks. And this is probably the toughest of the 3 games. You got UAB and you got Rice after that. And then, hopefully, you get into the conference championship game. But this is big time game, man. I'm trying to think if there's been something more at stake for USF than this. I guess you got to go back to when they did the AP polls in West Virginia coming here, and they were
West Virginia, and then the next week you're number 2 in the country, and you go to Rutgers.
Yeah, that's probably the last high water mark. I think we're there again, though. Now they got 2 losses, right? But they're ranked 24th, I want to say.
24th in the college football poll. Yeah. But the key is to be the highest ranked,
yeah,
non-Power 4 school that wins a conference championship, which if USF wins out, they should be the highest ranked and they'll make the playoff.
I absolutely believe they will. And potentially they could be the first Florida team to make the college football playoffs, depending on what Miami does. And they've been leaking oil a little bit too. So it would be historic, obviously. We've talked about, what it would do financially for USF and their football program and athletic program for that matter. You'd be on a stage for recruiting, for all kinds of things, going to, I don't know, Ohio State or, Notre Dame or one of these places for your first round game. So, yeah, just a lot riding on this game. And they, I think if they get by Navy, I really think they're going to win out. Now UAB has upset Memphis and they fired Trent Dilfer as their head coach. And, the next week, Chris Mortensen's son led them to a big win over the Tigers. But, they're a better football team than UAB. They're a better football team than Rice. So if you take care of business, this is the one. Awkward, that Navy offense, and then the atmosphere. I'm told it's. I think I read where it's sold out. It's going to be, of course, you got the Naval Academy. Like these guys you're playing have a bigger commitment than just football.
Well, it's against your old athletic director. That's where Michael Kelly is.
Yeah, Michael Kelly's there. That's right. And he gave Alex Golish his chance here at USF. They asked Alex the other day about Michael. So a lot of storylines and looking forward to watching that game on television. So, come through with that one. USF's on the football map for sure, and those final 2 weeks are going to be so meaningful for them and their athletic program. It's going to be crazy. So, lots of fun this weekend in college football. We'll see how all that goes. We'll talk more about that as the week goes on. Hey, get on down to Breitling Boutique International Plaza Mall. That's where you're going to find the NFL 32 different team watches while supplies last. Couple of them are in the window, folks. I was there. It's Christmas time. It's time to buy something for your loved one. I'm telling you, your husband, your boyfriend will love one of those beautiful Chronomount watches, particularly if it's an NFL team watch or whatever team you're a fan of while supplies last. Or how about your wife or girlfriend with a sports watch from Breitling Boutique? Go down there, center of the mall, second floor, International Plaza Mall. Please, when you go, let them know you heard about it here on Sports Day Tampa Bay. Hey, thanks for listening. For Steve Versnick, I am Rick Stroud of the Tampa Bay Times. Have a great day, everybody.